Testing. All right. G'day, everyone. Let me give me a minute to undo the thing. Also, just checking my feeds for a minute. Sorry, I've got in here a bit late. Not by a lot, by a minute, but I haven't done all my normal checking. So I'm hoping. Oh, here we go. Yep, we're working. We're away. So we've got all our sound and camera all working, so which is good. So yeah, nothing worse than speaking to yourself for an hour or two. So and my voice is pretty wrecked today already. So there's my boy JJ, my partner in crime. Always comes over to say hello, and then he'll get back on his couch. So welcome to another Tuesday night of the Eureka Conservative Podcast. I hope you've been enjoying what we've been doing so far. Today, we've been a bit slack this week. Work has been very, very busy. So I haven't been able to get on to much. Haven't done any policy development. Last week, we did a bit of a tribute to Donald Trump because of his peace deal in the Middle East, which was well-deserved. This week, work has gotten me going a little bit, which has been good. I'm not complaining. Never complain when work is going well. And so, yeah, I've just been flat out. So I just have not been able to get some spare time to get to any policy development this week or try to get up with some new policy. So I figured that it may be a good thing. Sorry, guys, I just got to take a text. Would be have a bit of a review of where we're at with our policy tonight. So that'd be something different, plus a general chat. Sorry, guys, I've literally sat down in the chair, and you know, when you first get on those things, you sort of get in your chair, get all comfortable, all that, and I've managed not to do that. So anyway, we're back here. Hopefully, a number of you have also been following my little daily Charlie Kirk Bible reads and my Bob rants. The Bob rants have been pretty good lately. So I started a bit slow on that, but now I've got to do something about that light. But it is good. It has gotten a lot better, I think, as we progress through. So we'll probably go down that road a bit tonight with a few issues, and we'll obviously do our regular Twitter scroll and just see what's news of the day and what news from the past week. But again, I haven't had much time this last week to get a lot of my bookmarks done, so I'm not too sure how much good stuff I'll have in there, but we'll always, it's X, you'll find something on there from, no doubt, from different parts that you probably may have noticed or may not have noticed. So there we're at. So yeah, about to get started, I will switch across into this podcast software. Every week I get on, they change the format of it. Just as I'm starting to get used to it, we have something else. So anyway, I'll get onto my podcast room. We'll share that across for you. So we've been doing very, very well. And these, we get onto them. So this is our, so that's our, I just want to make sure I'm sharing the screen. Yes, we are. So that's our foundations for conservatism in Australia. And it's based along these. We might add some more to this, but these are the foundations on how we build a conservative-based country, and it's on Christianity, nationalism, which has been getting a lot of focus lately, conservatism, obviously, justice, hope and innovation, especially for our young ones, governance has been huge, economy and finance. So we think that's enough in a broad sphere to be able to add to it. And since we've started announcing these policies, so we'll get these up. So here's the pillar of Christianity, locking in our Christian culture. I won't bother going through all of these points, but like I say, you don't need to be a Christian to acknowledge the role that Christianity played in both the formation and development of Western civilization in this nation. I just think it's something that we all need to acknowledge. Bizarrely, some people don't. But the Christian heritage that we had, especially at the turn of the 20th century, from 1901 when we became a nation, and the Christian heritage that was in place as we built this nation going forward. A lot of people talk about the Judeo-Christian heritage. I think it was far more the Christian heritage than anything else. But not that I care. I've got no issue with the Judeo-Christian sort of thing. I know some of you out there might. I don't. But I do think we are heading into a position moving forward when, especially with immigration being such a big thing, we've got to be very careful on what we define as the appropriate culture that we want embraced by any immigrant who comes in. And a big part of that should be the Christianity one, in my view. These are all my opinions, obviously. The pillar of nationalism, we've got stuck into that. Look at this. This has been a big issue. A 10-year freeze on immigration. We need to, a lot of people saying 5. I said ages ago we need 10 years. And my reason for 10 years is a lot different to a lot of other people. It's not necessarily I'm not into deportations or remigration or anything like that. If you're born here, you're an Aussie. I don't care about your colour of your skin, your background, all that. As long as you embrace our culture. And if you're born here, you've got the greatest lottery ticket in the world still. Maybe not as great as it used to be, but it's a lot better. It's like, when they added an extra number for Powerball. It was still a great prize, but not quite as easy to win as what it used to be. So I said here, freeze all immigration for 10 years because it's taken us 25 years to arrive at this point. It will take, in my belief, a decade to fix it. And we need to prioritise the needs of Australians first and foremost. So I'm a little bit different. I am very much Australian citizens first, as I put there, but I'm not Australian only. I don't think we can close ourselves off from the world entirely. I think we need to give Australians priority, and we need a freeze on immigration so we can catch our breath and catch up on housing. But yeah, I'm different from a lot of the nationalists you may see who want Australia-wide policy, basically the NSN types. Certainly not that. And I respect the hell out of a lot of citizens and not there are some people out there, Stephen, I can't pronounce his name, and it's too late in the day and I'm too tired. I think it's Chevrolet or something. He bangs on about the Anglo Western European culture. Well, yeah, that's fine, but there's a lot. That's just a small part of the world. Australia is bigger than Europe, and there's plenty. We're in the Asian area, so I've got no problem about Asian immigration, as long as they again embrace the Aussie culture. I've got no problem about any immigration, actually, as long as they embrace the culture and as long as they don't flood us with immigrants. So, that's one part. An Australian Republic, that is basically, there's two parts to that, and I'm not going to go over these in great deal, but the major goal of an Australian Republic is, one, I don't like King Charles. I love Queen Elizabeth, but King Charles is just an idiot. I don't trust the monarchy anymore. But even more so, to make the changes we need to make our country better, we've got to find a way to tear down our current institution and replace it with something better. I just actually think the easiest way to do that is to go down the road of a republic, even if you did love the monarchy, so we can still remain a part of the Commonwealth. But it's time we became a republic, and it's time the republic should be coming from a conservative platform, not a leftist platform. If it comes from a leftist platform, we're in a lot of trouble. So I reckon jump on that. The establishment of an Australian National Guard, very much like the American National Guard. So you can read through that later. Two parts. A lot of these don't have enough space on two parts. Defence parts one. Well, interesting with Trump's comments overnight about AUKUS. So I think we should be increasing our spending on defence. I think we're really, we're in a bit of a problem on how we can defend ourselves. So again, I won't go into these policies in detail. Just go up to here, theconservative.com.au, and go to, where is it? I'll show you. Oh, there you go. Politics, platform. Ha! Time to spend a long day. What are we up to? The establishment reign, I need to do all that. Defence did all that. Quick touch on that. Pillars of governance. Well, some of these fit under two categories. So an Australian Republic is under that. Withdrawal from any treaty organisation that isn't in Australia's best interest. I would include the UN, the New World Order, obviously. The World Economic Forum is another one. The World Health Organisation. I think we should be getting out of all these. I don't see they serve our interests at all. An introduction of a Bill of Rights into our Constitution. So whether we go to a republic or not, we've got to actually start clearly defining our Bill of Rights and start looking at also things like the Human Rights Commission. Do we actually need a Human Rights Commissioner? So that could be coming up in the next few weeks on policy on what we want to get rid of. The E-Safety Commissioner, got to go. I've got that in one of our policies. Electoral and government reform. I reckon we've got a few really good ideas here. I personally, preferential voting's got to go and be replaced with, and also so does compulsory voting. A 10-year qualifying period after citizenship is required, just to combat Tony Burke and what he's doing with bringing in immigrants and giving them citizenship. The abolition of any upper house, state or federal. Let's go. Let governments govern and then be accountable to the people, not to senators who, that will cause controversy, especially with those political parties like the Libertarians and One Nation that want to get a balance of power in the Senate. But I just think the Senate's well past its use by date. The implementation of recall elections. So if a government is getting out of control and the people are upset with it, you can recall it, have an election and get rid of the bastards. So there's a lot of few things we've got in there for electoral reform. I actually also holding our politicians to account. Now, this was a good one because, these bastards lie to us all the time. We've got to find a way to make sure that these guys stick to their policies, what they get voted in on, and don't go past them. And also against corrupt behaviour. So they talk about it a lot. They never do anything. We've come up with ideas of doing it. Educational reform. Let you have a look through those. I think there's some just common sense values we've got in there. So we're covering a lot. Again, defence. I won't go into that. Pillars of justice. Holding our politicians to account. We've already gone over that. Zero tolerance. This is towards the criminals who, especially here in Melbourne, who roam our streets, breaking into houses, stealing cars, attacking people. There's got to be zero tolerance approach, and the bail laws have got to get reformed, and these pricks need to go to jail. Establishment of National Guard, we've gone through that. Here we want to they talk about an economic roundtable, and then these politicians, if you want to call them that, invite people from their lobby groups. So with the Liberals, it could be all the corporates. With the ALP, it's all the trade unions, and also a few of their socialist buddy. But a proper meeting of the minds like Bob Hawke did to try and get an idea on where we should be taking the country economically without anything hanging over their heads, just ideas, and turn those into policy. We had a lot of ideas on making home ownership more affordable, and instead of just a 5%, home deposit that's just going to increase prices and get our younger ones into a lifetime of debt, legitimate ways to bring down prices and make it more affordable. Education reform, already gone through that. And there we go. That's what we're up to. So we've done an awful lot in a short period of time. These past 2 weeks, last week we deliberately took it off. These past 2 weeks, this past week I just haven't had time. So next week we'll try and see if we can't do a little bit extra for you all. So hopefully that's a good summary. I think we're doing pretty well with it. We're definitely on the verge. I keep saying this. Again, I'm trying to get round to it. I've got 2 letters, one for my state politicians, one for my federal politicians. They're half drafted. I got into them about 3 weeks ago, and I haven't been able to. Apologies for the light in the background. For some reason, it's coming in. Hopefully, it's coming over really well at your end, but for some reason, it's not coming in so well at mine. And lo and behold, the format's changed again, right in the middle of me doing it. Really weird. So anyway, yesterday I couldn't even get my Restream software going. There was that big server collapse. I think it was through Apple, and it just took down a bunch of things. So maybe it's still suffering from that. So anyway, with those letters to the politicians, we'll be sending those out hopefully in the next week. We've finished a half a draft of them. I'm just going through them for all the grammar and spelling errors. Got to make sure they're right before they hit our politicians' inboxes, because half the bastards won't look at them. If you've actually dealt with these politicians before, like I have, you'll just get the automatic replies, and you damn well know their staffers are reading them, and if it gets in front of the politicians, you're lucky. That's why we write to all of them to try and get through to at least a percentage of them. So, that's where we go to with that. So that'll be interesting, and once I finish the letter, we'll read them out to you here on the podcast, and we'll be sending all those hopefully in the next week. They're a bit out of date now because so much has been happening on the political front over here in Australia. So, look out. What have we got here? We might have don't know. Page. You give your stream a sleek touch with everything there. Blah, 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 blah. No. Okay. Sorry, guys. I'll get my chat up while I'm thinking of it. Probably talk with the host, another guest. I hope I'm the host. I just better double check. Somehow I've got into, oh my God. Sorry, guys. I just got to double check this is working right. Yeah, it looks all right. Okay, yeah, no, that's good. That's funny because what I do when I'm doing this now, because I learned this the hard way, is I've got my YouTube link to it, and I've just got onto that to have a look to make sure the sound and all that was coming right. For some reason, I don't have the chat at my end, so I don't know whether this has got anything to do with last night's events. If it does, I apologise. A bit out of my pay grade, but for some reason, here we go, chats. All right, never missing. All right, got my chats up. Thank God. But it's coming across all right on the YouTube link. So, buggered if I know. My end, I'm looking at the screen here, and it's not coming up great. But when I get onto the YouTube link, it's coming up fine. So if anyone's watching, just let me know what your screen's like, because to me, I've just got this glare in the background. But on the YouTube link, it's not there. So I don't know. I would need a producer technician sort of thing to resolve that. So anyway, I'll just keep banging on a little way. It's been a really interesting week in Australian politics and on a whole range of things. So we'll just cover on them tonight. So we've gone quick policy. I think you can see, again, if anyone who watches this wants to contribute to the policy, I'd love it. There's certain things I can put my, if you want to say expertise or what I've got knowledge on. I would say our education system has a lot to answer for. Today, I was dealing with a bunch of the younger ones on X. My God, their history, their knowledge of our history of our country. This is all about the Anzacs and what they fought for. And, today in my rant, I Drew Pavlo or however you pronounce his name, I challenged him to come on the podcast. I've challenged a lot of people lately to come on the podcast. I'm not getting much response, but I'll DM. I'm hoping to get Jared Rennick on. He had an interesting time of it last week with a big pile-on and getting cancelled from the speakers. But I tell you, I have issues with the March for Australia. All right, not with everyone. A lot of the people go along, and a lot of the peace speakers, I know they're well-meaning people. All right, but the guy I've developed a lot of time for is Shallow Chell. I think it's Scott. He can correct me. Scott Challen. I'm hoping I'm getting his name right. If it's not, someone please correct me. But I had a bit of a chat. I want to get him on the podcast because I think he's a fascinating guy. And it was good, actually. I saw that Jared Rennick turned up to their rally and they actually gave him a speaker spot in the end. I'm actually happy about that because we live in a country where they bang on about free speech, and Beck Freedom bangs on about free speech to justify letting their NSN mates up there. And then all of a sudden, they denied a person free speech because he didn't agree with their point of view. We can all agree or disagree with each other's point of view. We just got to have that contest of ideas and that battle of ideas to get where we want to be as a country, and may the best ideas win. So that's where we want to be able to get to as a country. But I was really rapt that Jared Rennick got his thing. Now, I won't say I'm not a huge fan of Jared Rennick. I've got a lot of respect for Jared Rennick. I reckon he's one of the best policy minds in the country. Some of his policy stuff is really good. And I like what he's trying to do with building the People's First Party from the ground upwards. But I just don't know that we've got that much time as a country. So he's trying to do the right thing. He can be very combative on the threads, which was what got him in trouble. And I've had my own butting of heads with Jared in the past. So I understand why people get upset with him. But you shouldn't cancel him. You shouldn't kick him off. And he should be able to have his say. And if people at the rally didn't like his say, they'll boo him off the stage. The fact is, he got up, I listened to his speech, and everyone was cool with it. So it wasn't a big issue. So it was made up to be a big song and dance about that. But credit to Shallow Chai. I don't know. I'm probably getting the name wrong. Scott, if you're listening, I'm so sorry, mate. But I sent him a DM today, and he seems like he'll be up for a conversation with me on the podcast. So I'm looking forward to that. I reckon he's a fascinating guy. And I don't think we'll agree on everything, but I think we'll agree on most things. And I think he does an amazing job with the social media. I think he's a natural on the social media. So he obviously runs a pretty good business, and he's a very good motivator. There was one, for example, just a pity he didn't get through at the protest. He got all the young guys with their flags behind him, and he challenged Trump to bring up immigration with elbow. I don't know how many, if I've got bags under my eyes, which I normally do at my age, but if they're worse than normal, I sat up till 3-4 o'clock this morning because I just wanted to see Trump give it to elbow, and disappointingly that didn't happen. So, elbow looked like a total idiot. I mean, everyone's raving about how well he did. He looked like a little puppy dog. Got to remember, this is the guy, Trump, that they demonized for so long, and they used to demonize Dutton for being a mini Trump. Albo and Rudd and everyone on the LP front bench just demonized you for supporting Trump. And here they are over in America kissing his ass. It's actually kind of pathetic. You believe in what you say or don't believe in what you say. But, the ass kissing that went on over there just shows you how much of a coward Albo is. And Didn't Trump put Kevin Rudd in his spot? Listening to that live, that was worth the effort of staying up till 4 a.m. I mean, it was just brilliant by Trump, and you could just see how much Kevin Rudd hated that. The most interesting time is when Kevin Rudd is no longer in an official government position, like as an ambassador. He is going to be so pissed off with Trump, and I'm there for it because the tears are going to be glorious when he's allowed to have tears about Trump. So the pity is we didn't have something about Turnbull. So it was interesting. I was hoping for more. In the end, we got to be grateful that we actually got a good hearing from Trump. We invested an awful lot in these AUKUS subs, so it was good to see that we're going to get something from that investment, and Trump seems pretty keen on it. I think that will be now, if we can get those subs, quicker the better, that will be a good investment. My only issue with the subs is we got nuclear subs. We should have nuclear weapons. I mean, let's have a deterrent in our defence capability that will stop people attacking this country. So I just don't see the point of having a nuclear sub. It's not armed with nuclear weapons. To me, that's a pretty straightforward sort of concept. But going back, so I did a Trump and I veered. So I was talking about our education, and these younger ones, they just got no idea. Drew's going on, and what annoys the crap out of me, I'm very strong about that Australian flag. You get us boomers get put down, but many of us boomers had parents who fought in World War II. A lot of us have got heritage who go back a long way. So my mum's side goes back before Federation. My dad's side goes back a bit further. I've had family that have fought in World War II, family that fought in World War One, family that went over to Vietnam. When my brother, I think he boasted he didn't do much fighting, but he went over there, and when you go over to a war zone, you're in a war zone. So I've had a bunch of other relatives that have served in the military, served in our police. So you just got to have respect for people who serve their country and those sorts of things. And Drew today was just, I think, shamefully using pictures of the old Anzacs. There was half a dozen who obviously had just survived the Japanese prison of war camps, where they were basically nearly starved to death. And he's using that and the Gallipoli charge at the neck, and all this stuff he doesn't know anything about. And it was clear he doesn't know about it because he said they, for example, survived 5 years in the POW camps. Well, World War II went for 5 years in its entirety, pretty much. So most of those prisoner of wars were Aussie prisoner of wars were from the fall of Singapore. And that happened in 1941. So that's 4 years. So wasn't quite right, a lot of what he was saying. But the point is he was using it for cheap political point scoring against Susan Ley. Now, I have my issues with Susan Ley. I don't want her to be opposition leader. I'd much rather Andrew Hastie. And the sooner the better. We need a valid opposition in this country, someone we can bloody well vote for to get rid of the ALP. And Susan Ley's not that person. But to use Anzacs to have a go at her, simply because apparently he wasn't allowed to ask any questions. So he's done a pretty immature dummy spit. And now, for some reason, he's got this rocket science idea of using our Anzac to justify his attacks against Susan Ley. I just think it's shameful. And there was about 3 or 4 times he used the disastrous attack on the neck at Gallipoli, where, we lost a whole brigade of Australian light horse. I mean, in some of the most disgraceful ways. But they were trying to put that onto the POMs. The problem is the POMs didn't do that. It was Australian commanders that did that. The POMs had a bit to answer for. Not a bit, a lot to answer for some of the stuff in World War One. But also by the end of World War One, if you read your history, the English the English generals and captains and whatever who ever led their strategy actually got a lot better. And they actually, along with one of ours in John Monash, a Jewish general, by the way, they were the first one to come up with the concept of a blitzkrieg, which the Germans carbon copied for World War II. Know your history. If you're going to put this stuff out, know it. But even if you know it, you shouldn't be using it for cheap political points. I'm repeating a rant from today. But, and again, my favourite politician of late, John Ruddock, he had to get on the feed, and he's become the perfect dog whistler. Not that sort of dog whistler. Oh, my God, how beautiful is that? He's fast asleep. I'm bored him to death. So John Ruddock, he got on there today. So he dog whistles for the Hamas supporters. He's dog whistled, in my opinion, for the NSN supporters. Not in my opinion. I mean, I saw him making that speech right in front of a gang of NSN thugs. So there's no debate about it. And his speech on Sunday was pathetic. It was just another dog whistle. And now he's on this thread, dog whistling again, to all these young ones who don't. He should have actually, and John puts himself out there as this well of all knowledge and, especially history. But he didn't challenge any of them on their bad history. So anyway, I did. And I encouraged others to do. I don't know how much success I had, but I'll continue to do it because I think it was shameful. So, we've had all that going on this week. We've had Barnaby Joyce going across to One Nation. I actually think that's a mistake. I think Pauline, if you ever do listen to it, which I doubt, I don't think you should be doing it. Malcolm Roberts, you've been very loyal to Pauline. I think you've earned the right to be the next one to be a successor. But, who knows? The media could be just beating it up, whatever it is. I just find it a bit disappointing by Barnaby because in the same week, you had a whole bunch of rumours about a bunch of Liberal Conservatives jumping across into the Nationals. So why would you jump out of the Nationals when you could have a brand new, reform version of a Conservative Party through the Nationals start coming together? So Barnaby's always, I think Barnaby has been very good in some points. I think Barnaby's also been, what is it? I think Barnaby's about Barnaby in many points as well. So, it's, I think, disappointing that he's done it. I'm not a huge supporter of Susan Ley. I think Little Proud actually hasn't been as bad as what people make him out to be. His big test will come on net zero. But so there's been all this shenanigans. So the centre right at the moment, we're just a bit of a shambles. With the marches, for example, whatever you think of them, we've got March for Australia, we've got the Reignite Democracy marches, which I'll get to in a minute, and we've got the Melbourne Freedom marches, which, the Melbourne Freedom marches were one of the original ones during COVID. And the guy that runs that, I've got a bit of time for. I have my issues with the Melbourne March for Australia movement, especially with the NSN types in Sydney and Melbourne. Don't know enough about South Australia and West Australia. Like I said, Scott runs a really tight ship, I think, and a good one up in Queensland. It's a pity I'm not in Brisbane. I think actually in Brisbane I would probably go along to one of those marches, but I'm not doing it here in Melbourne, not a chance. So anyway, that's just me. If you want to go along, feel free. But then you've got the Reignite Democracy, and now there's a real issue there, Monica. I don't know why you're using video from the Melbourne Freedom rallies. You're putting them down at the moment. You've done a 180 twice before the Melbourne Freedom, before the March for Australia rally, the first one. You said you weren't joining in for the same reasons I have my issues, which is the NSN links. Then you did a 180 and jumped, we've got to do it. And now you've done another 180 and said, no, we've got to do our own and get away from the NSN link. So I don't know what the hell's going on there. But if you don't want to participate in them, don't use their clips. Don't use some of their promos. So why are you doing that for? No, that's just poor form. Sorry. That's like Drew using the Anzacs to put his thing across. Just have some integrity, have some respect. Surely you've got enough stuff you could use for your own promo. And you better back up what you put up today about this amazing woman who's apparently going to get up. So the only two I could think of would justify that would be either Pauline Hanson or Jacinta Price. I doubt it'd be Jacinta Price. I don't think the Liberal Party would want her all over that. So it's probably Pauline Hanson. But who knows? It's going to be interesting, but it better be you better back up what you're putting out there. Because this is a bit like Candace Owens. You go, I've got this big thing coming up, she's got this big revelation about the Charlie Kirk murder, and it ends up being a nothing burger. If you put up a nothing burger, you lose all credibility. So, that'll be very interesting. So they're the marches. That's Trump from last week and the politics going on within our country. So I don't know where it's all heading. So, it'd be good to have someone here to chat about it. Hopefully in the next coming weeks. I'm putting invites out there, guys. I really am. So if you know of anyone who wants to come on, or if you want to come on, I'm going to be approaching a lot more before next week's again. And we will see what we can do. Celine Against the Machine, I'd love to get you back on here. We had a great podcast last time with you and the Oz Trucker. I'll get on to the Oz Trucker again, Mike, and see whether he wants to jump back on. He's always good value. But Celine, you gave a speech at the Sydney rally. You also put up some stuff about not worrying about Nazis. So we would have different points of view on that. But if you're interested in the discussion about it and us putting both points of view forward, feel free to get in contact, and I'd love to have you on the show again. So I'll be going back to everyone who's been on the show and trying to get more there. I have been slack. I do apologise. I have been trying, though, but I don't get paid for this, though. Mind you, I'm going to change that a little bit at the end of this show. So stick with me for that. So without any further ado, let's go to our X feed and our bookmarks, and let's see. We'll share that screen. Do not. I have no. I think I know what I'm doing here now. Okay, cancel. God, I'm an idiot. I now know. Oh my God. Sorry, guys. I now know what I'm doing. I think I'm sharing my YouTube screen. Stop screen sharing. Yeah. Little wonder. Okay. Oh, now I know why I had such an issue with the view. Oh my God. So somehow I managed to share my screen with my YouTube link. So, oh my God. All right, guys, just to give you a quick breakdown, I've got my podcast software. I have some incidents on this. I'm still, after all this time, I've got a handle on it, but, every now and again I do something stupid. So I've just done something stupid. I was wondering why my screen had such a bad image. The reason why is I managed to share screen my YouTube link, and so it was a sort of second screen. Anyway, the things we do. I must be tired. Anyway, I'll get onto another share screen with my Twitter. So I just figured that out. What an idiot. All right. Now, like I said, I don't think we've got anything on my bookmarks, but there's my best mate, Drew, from today. I guess he just got it in. I mean, Drew, give it a break. Man, all right, we get it. You do not like Susan Lay. Small business are the heartbeat of our communities, creating jobs and driving. What's wrong with that? Be critical of all her. Like the fact that she's 100% right. Small businesses are the heartbeat of our communities. Part of my business, I write articles for small businesses and promote them to the wider community because they're doing it tough. Small business is one of the biggest employees in thing. What's your issue, Drew? I don't get it. Drew's gone off the plantation lately. Here we go. Avi Yemeni. Candace Owens is defying a gag order that doesn't apply to a stunning brave. Yeah, well, that was a kind of bit weird. So, banged on. Don't worry about the gag order and the Charlie Kirk case. This woman's just nuts. I plan to violate it on the world's behalf. Well, the world's not asking you, silly woman. The things I've discovered the past week are enough to burn the house down. Yeah, sure. Okay. Everything she's brought up, like this guy says, if Candace has no evidence, then it won't happen. But I don't think she would go this far to tell the truth. Yeah, well, gullible. Anyway, the gag doesn't apply to her. So, and even if it did, good. For all those who are into their freedom of speech, bad luck. I don't care. I'm a conservative. I'm not a libertarian. I had the pleasure of speaking. Oh, yeah, the March Australia. I mean, I didn't listen to Craig Kelly. Stopped listening to him 3 years ago. His speech was horrible. So was John Ruddock. So I think the libertarians have got a bit of an issue. March for Australia attendees, please listen to the first few messages reached by Nazis, concerned citizens. I understand you're frustrated that you don't feel heard or listened to and are worried about the future of Australia, but your attendance at these rallies is not the way. Okay. Very interesting going on in Australia. Found this speech eye-opening. Whose planes? Joel Davis is a turd. That goes for 18 minutes, so I couldn't be really listening to him for 1 minute, so there's no way I'm looking to that. Maybe later on. This. I was listening to this, and we'll give it a listen.
Anthony Albanese.
He can't pronounce his name.
Well, thank you very much. It's great to have the Prime Minister of Australia. Fantastic place. A lot of friends over there, and this is one of them right here. The Prime Minister is, as you know, Anthony Albanese, and he's highly respected. Done very well in his election, and I hear you're very popular today, right? I mean, it varies from day to day, but
look at that face of Elba.
It's great to.
That just shows me Trump is not in touch with what's going on in Australia, which is a pity. I was hoping JD Vance would have a say, but obviously we've got a lot to offer the Yanks in regards to raw minerals. So, yeah, I just found that a bit disappointing from Trump. I love the man, but, yeah, no, Trumpy boy, you got to do better than that. Sorry. I'm just trying to get my proper screen up. Which one have I got? There we go. That's a better one. Trumpy. Yeah, that was disappointing. What else is news? Mark Latham. Don't underestimate Kevin Rudd. He's now on the phone to Laurie Oakes, leaking against Trump, saying to himself, if I could bring down Gillard for humiliating me, even after all that misogyny speech bullshit, imagine what I'll do to that fat old Irish. Kevin Rudd wasn't happy. That was glorious. I'm just trying to find it. Hopefully we can get it there. For years we're told that our own flag and heritage is offensive. Yes and that. Net zero means environmental destruction. It does. Malcolm, you should come on my show. Senator Bett, I don't really pay much attention to him anymore. Not after he knifed a lot of the smaller centre-right parties last election. He should just wander off into the distance. Fun fact here, Tan, just trying to find some good ones. One Nation candidate stands down for health matter. The one thing that concerns me about One Nation, geez, they go through a lot of personnel. Imagine what they would be like if they made government and were just constantly changing and sacking ministers, all this sort of things. Rowan Dean, he's always good value. The morons in the Liberal Party ignored my repeated pleas last year to embrace Trump and instead ran a mile from him. Now Albo is boasting of how he'll use praise from Trump in his 2028 election campaign. That was the most bizarre thing by Dutton I ever saw. He should have, like Rowan Dean said, embraced Trump in a big way. Just never know who you're going to run into out of town. Maura Deming, you're a weapon. Keep fighting the good fight. Not your greatest photo, Jordan. Two legends. Is that in America, is it, mate? I don't know. I've never voted ARP, and I think that Albo is far from the best PM that we've had. But anybody who doesn't think that it is good that this meeting was successful is an idiot. I would totally agree on that. Criticise the PM when he's on home soil, but sort him when he's representing Australia. To a degree, I agree. We can still be critical of him. And listen, his behaviour, it was pathetic yesterday. Sorry. It was great that we got the deal, but then again, I just thought it was great that Trump gave it to Rudd. I would have loved to seen him give it to Albo a bit. Once again, our biggest asset is beneath our feet, yet we have people keen to see it left there. Australia's a lucky country run mainly by second-rate people who share its luck. Very true. It's the critical minerals that the Yanks were very keen on because China's got its thing on there. So that was a good deal for us, and we'll get the ALCOS. So that was good, but it wasn't anything to do with Albo. It's just they want those minerals. We'll get into our bookmarks in a minute. I had a tremendous day in Jerusalem with James too. I don't know who James Lindsay is. I'm not too sure. A lot of people knock people who do this. I'm not too sure. Do you have to wear the Jewish cap against the wall? Is it? I had a tremendous day in Jerusalem with James, touring and learning about the city of David and the old city before visiting the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. the likely spot of Jesus' crucifixion and where he was entombed. We then went on to Yad Vashem, the World Holocaust Remembrance. Yisrael High, never again is now. Okay, so he's pushing the Jewish talking points. If anyone knows, I'd like to know, that's the old temple wall. They all do their prayers and that, where the Jewish, is this also a Christian thing? I'm not too sure. I'd like to know because I don't know. Some more March for Australia. We had plenty of them. The only cure for cancel courage is culture courage. Will Kingston is worth a follow. I love some of his content. Don't know what he's doing, but I'm going to save that to my political bookmark. We'll go to those soon. Add to folder. All bookmarks, politics. If you don't use bookmarks, it's a great way to, you can put in a bunch of folders and you can just, if you don't have time to watch something, you can always come back to it later. I love it. Political suicide summed up in a single chart. Let me guess, this is about the Liberals. New One Nation are only 5%. The Liberals. This is crazy. Look at this. Sorry, a lot of people would say this is a healthy democracy. I don't think it's that. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm assuming that's 7. Have no idea about that. So there's 7 centre-right parties. They would all be at each other's throats. And you've got the Greens, Animal Justice, and Legalised Cannabis. I don't know about South Australia best. They would all be working in lockstep with the Labor Party. So the Labor's going to romp this in South Australia. The predictions are that the Liberals won't even win a seat. It'll be like West Australia. And this is from a party that was the government not only a term or so ago. So disaster. But I don't know that this is healthy for democracy. I mean, a legalised cannabis party is not a serious party. Animal justice is not about animal justice. The guys who start that are all ALP guys. And, all we're doing with all these centre-right parties is diluting our vote and just, we're just giving the ALP just a foot in the door every time. Turnbull gives Albanese 10 out of 10 because he's a Labor man at heart, yeah. I've sat with Trump in the Oval Office and I give Malcolm Turnbull's just an ass. Seriously. This is interesting. They secretly tried to destroy Apple's encryption services worldwide, but President Trump was having none of it. Is this how things will go with our e-safety commissioner? Support my way. Yeah, okay. All right.
In a way, this meant that the UK government had won, at least temporarily, because UK citizens no longer had access to Apple's rock-solid end-to-end encryption. But that victory, such as it was very short-lived, because this story broke onto international news just after the inauguration of Donald Trump. And in a way, this meant that...
It's not about what happened last night, so anyway. Nathan Livingston. I try and do on this for all of you to find, guys, this guy's really worth watching. So hopefully Nathan gets it when he sees the shout out. He is fantastic. He keeps receipts and he puts them into videos and he just exposes the hypocrisy. He's been really banging it. Candace Owens, Tucker Carlson, a few of these. It's just fantastic to watch. You see over the journey how they do these 180s and just change entirely, and just their pure hypocrisy of some of the stuff they bring up. So we're so back, drive it out, South Australia. Totally, it's all right. We'll go through here. I think it's time to go to our bookmarks. Sorry, guys, banging on a bit tonight. I hope I've still got you all with me. I don't think I've got much in here. Put Celine's in there. I haven't had a chance to listen to it. This was disgraceful. Joel Davis in the Noticer, which is an NSN publication, at least a sympathy thing. Unless we bully politicians who flagrantly dismiss our legitimate concerns, we will not have a political process that listens to us. Well, that's just nonsense. Jared Rennick deserves to be bullied. He wasn't flagrantly. if you read through what Jared Rennick put on, he wasn't flagrantly dismissing people's concerns about immigration. He just had and he convinced me a bit on this. I've called for a 10-year freeze on immigration, but he made really strong arguments as to why we needed some immigration so some industries didn't break down. Because the bottom line, what he was saying is a lot of Australians won't do certain work, and if we want those industries to keep going, we need some amount of immigration to come in. I thought it was a convincing argument and something that I may reframe my immigration policy. Then he just got piled on, and Jared, in his own way, pushed back. And I got to respect him for it, because I do the same thing, but I'm not a politician trying to get voted in. So I don't know. I think my advice to Jared would be to maybe modify that a bit. But then again, look at Trump. Trump's great. The issue with what Candace says is Candace isn't just reporting truth. She's not. She's adding her own opinion, commentary, and speculation. But it shapes people's opinion of TP. Yeah. No, giving up on her. Yeah, this is going back a bit. I'll get back into my other bookmarks. So let's go back a little. Politics, maybe we might have something. That's the one I saved before. So, yeah, I'm on to this is all old school now. These are the March. One of the best speeches you'll hear from haven't seen that yet. Crowds are a little bit, everyone, it's interesting. We criticise the left when they take certain camera angles to magnify crowds. I think a bit of that went on in the weekend. It's pretty hard to estimate the crowds, but we ask Grok a little bit, how accurate Grok is sometimes. I'm not too sure. But, overall, they were estimating between 10 and 20,000 all up at all the marches. If that's the case, that's not a huge turnout when you're going across the city. I actually think, and maybe, Scott, this is something we can talk about, I actually think instead of holding a whole bunch of rallies at the same time, you should go from city to city to city. And, Scott, I would love to see you do something like that, because I just think you organise these so well. We should be going across from one to the other. But, that's the Joel. Look, I'm not a huge fan of Joel, but on these, he does give good coverage of these live streams, and he gets most of the speeches in. I haven't had time to sit down and listen to all the speeches. I'm interested to see who they got speaking. The last March, the speakers weren't great. I've seen some of the speakers. I haven't heard a speech yet that I said, God, that's grabbed me by the heartstrings and I want to get involved. Certainly haven't had that. Live Sydney March for Australia, October 9. Sorry for some of the language on there. Yeah, going back a bit now. So that's all from last week. So like I said, I've been a bit slack. We'll go to the top. Let's go to the home part, see what, anything else? Okay, Miko's telling who he likes. Perth Patriots. South Australia Peter Malinakis has downplayed concerns over women's safety in prison after an inmate was assaulted by a male, saying, we are 6 months out from the election. I'm here focused on it. Oh, it's a cop-out. That's pathetic. Good on you, Bev. I back the motion calling on the Allen Labor government to protect our flag from disrespect and desecration. Free speech matters, but so does safeguarding the institutions that protect it. We must reject cultural vandalism and stand up for the values that our flags represent. Totally agree. I'm not with you, all you libertarians, on being able to burn our flag. Our diggers fought and died for that flag. My father fought under that flag. So, we shouldn't be doing anything like that. So, one in Australian pubs. Ozpol, Cooper Vic, 6 News projection, shock horror, Labor wins. Where's Cooper? So this is interesting. So the boys at 6 News, they're basing on an aggregate of 5 polls. I'm not too sure how accurate that would be. So That's interesting what Matt Walsh is going. Anyway, there's not a lot there. So I won't bore you to death with it anymore, guys. I'll get out of there. And stop screen printing to get myself back. We've been going nearly an hour, so I've done pretty good, actually. Probably bored you all half to death because I haven't really prepared as much for this week because work, like I said, has been killing me. So I do apologise in advance from that. I've got no chat, which is probably a reflection I've lost a few. How's my dog going? Sit. Yep. See, you're probably all feeling like him. He's a classic, isn't he? I've always said, if you believe in reincarnation, and I don't know whether I do or don't, but if it was a thing, I want to come back as a dog in a loving home where I get spoilt rotten. I don't think there's a better existence. They don't have to worry about bills. They don't have to worry about where their next meal's coming from. They just, the smallest things give them a lot of joy. And look at this. How comfortable is he? Now, when he's up and about, he's an amazing dog. He's full of so much beans. But when I'm talking, he just does that. When I get up and get some twisties or some food, he's not as bad as the lab I used to have, but yeah, food gets him going. He can leave a bowl of his dog food sitting there for like a day sometimes too. He's back on his couch. But when it comes to my food, he wants it. So we'll go down, we'll put the TV on, we'll watch a bit of TV, have a bit of dinner, and he'll be all over it. So anyway, that'll do me for today. We'll do a much better session hopefully in the coming weeks. I do apologise in advance. It's been a very busy week, sitting up all last night. I'm a bit tired today. So my rant, if you want to watch it, I'll get it up on my website, the conservative. Talking of which, conservative.com.au. If you are inclined, I'm going to get something up. Sorry, guys. Just before you go, a lot of this takes a lot of my time, and this is only up to you if you want to do it. And I've noticed a few others doing it, people like Topher and all that. I'm not too sure whether I'll put it in every post like Topher does. Maybe I will. Bottom line, if you've got the courage to get online and put your face to it and put a work, this is anybody who does it, not just me, put a bit of work into it. If people can, there's the buy me a coffee. I'm trying to get this up. I've got a QR code and my computer's doing a go slow. Here we go. No. Typical. Sometimes I hate computers. They are just so bad. Never miss a comment. Oh, okay, that's not a chat. So I'll try and get it up again, guys. Sorry, bear with me. No, it's just going to go round in circles. Come on. I hate computers. I might just put the link in there. I should have had this up already. I forgot about it. Here we go. We've got something. Open with, come on, Google Chrome. Hey, guys, if you feel inclined to, I've finally got it, and you got a phone. I'll put this up for a minute while I'm talking. But, yeah, you can go on to the buy a coffee. So if you scan this QR code and you feel like, my content is worthwhile, and you want to contribute something towards it, I'm not going to lie. It's a cost of living issues at my end, getting your business done. It's starting to go off all right. But, if you want to contribute to something we're doing a bunch of stuff. There is cost involved. So feel free to contribute anything to it, whether it's $1, $2 or whatever they put on there. Don't really care, but this gives you a chance to contribute something if you like there. So you can scan that QR code. I'm going to include that on the post of this as well, with links to it, with all my future rants each day. So if you ever feel the need to put something in, whatever, small donation, large donation, whatever you like, or contribution, I should call it, I suppose, feel free to do it. All you got to do is scan that QR code, go onto my links, and it'll take you straight through to the buy the coffee page. So something, being inspired by others to do. So, yeah, why not? We all got to make a living. All got to pay the bills. Got to pay his vet bills. I've paid close to $1,000 in the past 3 weeks. I've got to go get him vaccinated. That is going to cost me another $250. So the vets do not miss you like the dentist. So anyway, that's something we'll incorporate more as we go in, maybe on our headings and stuff. So thank you all for jumping on, those who've done it. Again, apologise. It's not been I don't think it's been my best episode. Let me know what you think. But we'll certainly try and get some more policy out next week. Hopefully have a guest or two. And, we'll get cracking on it again. So good night, everyone. God bless. I hope you have a good day tomorrow. Be aware for my rant. I've got to go pick up some kids for training at 3 o'clock, so I'll be on between probably 1 and 2. Most days I try and get on about 3 o'clock. That seems to be the best time for some reason. I don't know why. I've been experimenting with times. But I'm enjoying the rants. Very therapeutic. I'm getting it off my chest. So, anyway, I've rabbited on enough. Sometimes I just keep going. Here I'm about to veer again. That's my upbringing with 9 brothers and sisters. I just keep talking until I get hurt. So if I do that, I'm apologizing. So anyway, good night, everyone. God bless. Stay safe, and let's make this